Okay, so I'm just going to welcome everybody. My name is Nicole Smith. I am the event and communications coordinator for Spark. We are so excited to have all of you join us today in our webinar. This is our third webinar since this whole thing has begun, and we're so thrilled to be able to do that. And we're really excited with those who are doing the presentation today. Evan and Drew are from XpertVR, which I'm sure they're going to tell you a little bit more about that. But they are experts in working remotely and managing a team remotely. And they are here today to share their expertise. So without further ado, take it away, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nicole.
You are very welcome.
So I'm going to be kicking off the beginning of this presentation, and then Evan's going to be taking over for a good portion of it. So to get started, the agenda that we're going to be going through over the next 30 to 40 minutes, as Nicole said, going to briefly tell you a little bit about us, what we do at XpertVR, how we got to where we're at today. Going to cover how to set up your workstation at home. I'm sure everyone kind of has their little setup going, but just making sure you're covering all the bases to ensure you're being efficient during business. Then Evan's going to take over and cover all your software needs when working virtually. This will cover managing yourself, your team, and your current and potential clients that you're going to be working with. And lastly, we're just going to finish off with some tips and tricks that we found work best in working at home, and then answer any questions. So to start off, Evan and I are both the co-founders of XpertVR. We've been working on this business for about 3 years now, since we were both in school at Brock University. And when we originally started, it was just the two of us, and we were contracting out work. So we originally began this actually as working virtually as a business. Over the 3 years, we've been able to do projects with a lot of universities and market research firms. As you can see on this page, Brock University and Mohawk College are two schools that we worked with. Explorer Research is a market research firm located in the Mississauga region. And essentially what we've been doing is creating virtual reality simulations to enhance current research practices. So through the creation of 3D models and VR games, essentially, businesses can use our simulations to conduct research studies. A few examples of that. You can see here the LCBO. We were actually able to recreate the LCBO that's on Glendale Road in St. Catharines. This allows professors at Brock to actually test consumer behavior preferences based around labels and shelf placement and a few other metrics that wine marketers are really interested in when trying to market new products. And then on the right, you can see we created a high seas simulation. This is the depiction of what our oceans might look like in the year 2050. And a researcher at Brock was trying to study to see the effects of how VR can impact people's decisions and current opinion about the ocean life. And if using VR can actually change their mindset of what they can do now to not end up in the scenarios that we've created of what it could look like in 2050. So back to the working from home stuff, now that we've kind of covered us. Things you want to keep in mind, especially with the hardware, to make sure that you're all set up and can run efficiently as when you're in the office. And really what you want to do is kind of make sure to ensure your home setup is as equal to or even better than your office setup was. This includes your computer with additional monitors, if you're used to that. As you can see, I found a 12 monitor setup on the line somewhere. That can keep you really productive if you if you can use them all properly. But a strong Wi-Fi connection is also very important. People don't realize like businesses do spend good amounts of money to make sure that their internet is up and running at a fast speed, but also doesn't crash. When the internet's down, your production's down, no one can communicate with each other. It can cause a lot of problems, especially when you're working in the virtual space. Another thing people don't necessarily think about, but is just good to have because a lot of people do have these, are smartphones and apps that work with them that are going to be basically part of your project management software or part of communicating with your team. Having a smartphone really allows you to kind of seamlessly add all those apps that you're using on your laptop or at your workstation on a regular basis to connect with these kind of people. Access to coffee and snacks, always important to make sure you kind of have a similar setup as you do to the office. I have limited there, which I will also get into in terms of eating at home at a later time. Headphones with a microphone. Mine actually recently broke, and right now I'm using headphones and using the audio through the computer. So it doesn't come through as clear as it necessarily could. So I highly recommend getting good headphones with microphones on them. Gaming headphones are kind of a good standard for that, but I know Apple AirPods work very well and similar things of those fashion. Having a VPN set up through your internet for privacy. This is really kind of business specific based. If you have a lot of data that you're collecting, IP that you're protecting, customer information that you don't want getting out, these are essential for accessing the internet and working with your team in kind of a private safe space. And lastly, which we're all kind of utilizing right now, are webcams for video calls. Definitely helps a lot being able to see someone's face in a meeting, which since we've kind of gotten rid of face-to-face meetings with the coronavirus, we're now forced to be utilizing this. So making sure you have a webcam definitely helps present yourself in a professional way. This kind of leads to the next section, which is the workstation itself, making sure you're keeping it nice and clean. The one on the left here, you can see this is actually what my workstation looked like when I was building the slide deck. On the right is our messy gaming desk that is currently in my living room. And the biggest thing that I kind of just want to point out here is make sure that your workspace is set up as your office would be, and having that professionalism look clean, how your boss would see it, because if you stay organized at your desk, you'll stay organized when you're working, less distractions, and that sort of thing.
All right, so now switching over from the hardware side, Drew's gonna come back with those tips and tricks that relate with the hardware a little bit as well. But I'm just gonna talk about some of the software that's available. So obviously, I think a lot of business owners already have calendars. We use Google Calendar for everything because we're connected to the Google Cloud with Docs and everything, which I'll get into in a little bit more. But I know a lot of people also like Outlook and the whole Microsoft ecosystem. So whichever one you're more comfortable with, just having that set up and then knowing which apps that I'm talking about, or when you're looking into apps to compare to the ones I'm talking about in these next couple slides, making sure that they're compatible with your calendar. Then Kanban boards. So this is something that we use a lot in our business, especially with our developers, but also with ourselves just on the business side. So this is an example of a Kanban board, obviously kind of a joke one, but basically allows you to put all of the tasks that need to be done into one spot. And you can have multiple boards, so one for yourself, one for you and your business partner like Drew and I do, or then one for your development team or for each project you're working on. And you can have all the tasks that need to be done. You can assign them to specific people, have due dates on them, and then when they're being done, you can move them into that doing section, or you can have multiple sections, whatever however complex you want to set it up for, and then in done. And that way people don't pick up a task that somebody's already doing, and they also know what tasks need to be done, and they know what tasks need to be done to move on to the next ones. So Trello is really good for this. And then on the next couple slides, we'll be talking about another software that brings them all together. And then lastly on this slide, reminders. We found always setting reminders in Google Calendar so that you don't forget things, putting those to-dos on your Kanban board, or putting those to-dos in the other software I'll be talking about for work and personal, because I feel like there's so many things going on right now, and there's so much stressful news that you kind of might forget about a couple things. So writing them down, make sure that you don't forget about those. So now software for managing your team, which ties back in with the software that I mentioned before. Again, Trello. We recently moved our Trello board over to ClickUp, which is a newer software that kind of combines a bunch of these softwares. So with ClickUp, you can bring your calendar in, you can bring your Kanban boards, you can make to-do lists, you can make very customized spaces that only have the tasks that you want to see in there, as well as reports on how your team's working together. And one of the best things that we've noticed with this is bringing in those Trello Kanban boards and being able to assign each task, but then also assign each subtask under that to people on your team. So that way you can see which tasks depend on other tasks to be finished, and you can see who needs to get what task done by what time, so that the next person in your team or yourself can keep moving on with the project. Then communication, apps like Slack and Discord are great. We used to look at Slack and a couple apps around that area, which were really cool for messaging. But what we found the best so far for us, and since we're kind of in the gaming area, is Discord. Usually it is used for more gamers, but a lot of people, especially in the past month, have been picking it up for business work. And basically it's a way to message each other and to set up different messaging areas for different projects and things like that. But you can also have voice channels in it. So whenever we're working, because we have to communicate so often with our team, we're all in a voice chat, and you can mute yourself or you can turn off your headphones so you can't hear anything. And you can toggle that on and off. But that allows us to be in constant communication with our employees as the day goes. And if they have any questions or we have any questions for them, it's really easy to quickly chat that way. Then time tracking, if you have any hourly employees or contractors, Clockify and Toggle are great. They both integrate with ClickUp. So you can have them enter their hours there and what they did or what project they were working on or what task they were working on for those hours. And that way it's very easy to invoice. It's very easy to keep track of how long each project is taking. And then lastly on this side, just like team building, because we're a VR company, we get into VR once a week and play games like laser tag and paintball and dodgeball all together as a team. So if you do have VR headsets or you have a little bit extra budget, it's a lot of fun to get people together. But beyond that, we've seen a lot of companies just using general video games just to bring people together and to do something fun together. And if you're not really into gaming, something that we've kind of just been doing for fun with our friends are apps like Poker Face and House Party. And so these are just video apps that you can download onto your phone and I believe onto your laptop. And Poker Face, you can play poker, but it also has a video call going on. So you can all see each other and talk and laugh as you play poker. House Party also has some fun games in it, and same thing, those video chats.
Mm-hmm. Just wanted to mention one more point too. All these softwares that Evan's currently talking about are completely free or have free versions that we've been using in a professional manner, especially with a small business. So yeah, just definitely keep that in mind. Except for Toggle. Toggle's own with a monthly price. I think Clockify might be better in that sense because offering the same services. But yeah, completely free to use all these.
Yeah. All right, and then client communication. Obviously, we're all on Zoom, so you guys kind of know about this, or you do know about this, and there's obviously lots of different platforms out there, Google Hangouts, Skype, Lifesize, Microsoft Teams, all kinds of stuff. One of the best things that I found out of this is backgrounds, like the one behind me right now. So this is with Zoom. It's actually built in and completely free to turn on these backgrounds in your settings. If you just Google it, you can see like how to do it exactly, but it's really easy to turn on, and they have a couple backgrounds you can choose from. But if you're not on Zoom, because like us, I know we're always switching between a bunch of different software depending on what client we're talking to. Software like Camcorder is a free download. It kind of has a watermark, but you can also do these backgrounds on things like Skype and Google Hangouts and other software. Then sales automation. You've probably heard of HubSpot and Hootsuite. So HubSpot's a CRM place so you can keep track of all your clients, what deals are happening, where they are in their lead life cycle, and all of that type of information, so you're not forgetting about anybody. And Hootsuite, so you can auto post or schedule a bunch of posts for your social media. And it's really great to be able just to take an hour or two on a Monday, schedule out all of those posts, and then not have to worry about it, or just have to go on there and engage instead of having to make content and schedule it every day. But then working with both of these, something that we found very helpful is Zapper. So basically it's a code-free coding software. So you go into Zapper and you say, if in one software this happens, then in this software, this other thing should happen. So for example, we have it hooked up to our Google Calendar. So whenever we have a meeting and it has an address in there, then it will put it into an Excel spreadsheet saying meeting at this address, this description of the meeting, and we have it set up so it's the start address is our home. And that way we quickly go in there every Friday and I can see every meeting we went to and all the mileage that we have to collect. Obviously not as important right now on the mileage side of things, but really cool tool to integrate apps together that don't have integrations already. And then lastly, just the virtual office software. So if you're getting a lot of phone calls and you don't want to use your own personal phone, but you don't want to buy a second phone, there's lots of virtual phones out there. Skype offers it, and there's so many other ones. And yeah, you just pay a monthly fee or a per use fee. And basically it will, when somebody calls that number, it will reroute it to your actual phone and you'll see it come in as a business call. And that way, everybody doesn't get your personal phone number and you can control it a little bit more and you can set up different numbers if you want to have different people to go to or different ways of it rerouting or having a voicemail and things like that. So very helpful there. And then lastly, either having a printer for signing things, a printer and scanner, or making sure that you have a verified signing software. So obviously a lot of documents need to be signed properly and have verified signatures on them. And some software that's out there where you're just like copying and pasting a picture might not be accepted by who you're sending it to. So programs like Adobe Acrobat or other verified signing softwares allow you to have your own signature on there, and the CRA or other people will accept that signature then. And then the last software slide here, we use Google Drive for all of our organization, using Google Docs and slides and just storing all of our social media content and other content that we have, as well as assets for our projects. So really good and really good integration and environment for all these apps working together. OneDrive by Microsoft is also another option. It really just depends what you're already kind of set up on and what you're used to. But we found this is great so that you can easily share with your employees and with other people. It's already all uploaded onto the cloud, and you can write up a doc or a slideshow, and it's just really easy to share or to access from anywhere without having to upload or download anything. And then lastly, if you're in like the tech space and you're working and your team's spread out and you have like code that you have, or code or models, I guess, that you need to share, something like GitHub is a really great software so that you don't have to be uploading a full project file to Google Drive and then somebody else downloading it and then re-uploading it. It's a really easy way just to make sure that you have the latest file of a project, and that whoever you're working with has the latest file of that project and all the code that goes with it. So a little specific there, but.
All right, I've got a few more slides to go through here, and then we'll be able to take some questions from you. So another thing on working from home is staying connected with your team. Now more than ever, everyone's feeling very isolated as we are doing self-isolation, hopefully for the most part. So being in touch with your team, definitely in an actual verbal way is a great way. And then if you can do it face-to-face as well. So having a common chat room, like Evan mentioned on Discord, we have our working channel that when you're working, you sign on and you are available to be chatted with anyone else who's also working at that time. This provides us with a similar environment to what it is like in the office, being able to just kind of turn around. So I'm just reading the Zoom message there. Yeah, so they allow you to stay in touch with people while you're actually doing work at the office in a very similar manner when you're working from your virtual office. Using voice and video chat as much as possible definitely gives you kind of that sense of feeling like someone else is there with you versus just typing in chat messages the whole time. Have regular meetings. As Evan mentioned as well, we've been conducting meetings in virtual reality once a week. As many people, like mentioned, probably don't have VR headsets. Doing a Zoom or a Skype call just to have your weekly meeting is more effective than trying to use chat rooms to provide updates. Being able to kind of come together and actually sit down and talk to one another virtually through the webcam is definitely a more productive way of doing that stuff. Monitoring projects for scope creep, that goes in line with having the regular meetings. When you're not there in the office with someone every single day, sometimes the vision of what they're currently working on might be more skewed because of the lack of face-to-face interaction they have with the project manager or the other people they're working with. So this can create scope creep and have projects kind of stray from where their original intentions were, and then pieces are coming together that don't necessarily fit because people weren't working together. They were working virtually remotely. So definitely something to keep your eyes on. And lastly, have everyone's emergency contact numbers, especially in times like now where if they're not coming into the office, like you should have this for normal employees anyways, but when you're hiring new people through to provide virtual work, make sure you have this as well. Two more things to mention quickly on this. Zoom now, as you can see up there, one of similar to Uber Eats, everyone who's from Spark knows who Zoom is, obviously. They're providing food delivery now, which Evan thought would be a great idea for businesses to be able to connect with their employees, whether it be sending your employees some food, and then all having a meeting together when it shows up. Just one idea to keep everyone kind of connected. So with that being said, we really got to consider your own quality of life as well as your employees. So working regular hours, like it's great that you are home all the time. But if you can kind of set up a schedule to make sure that you kind of are able to separate your time that you're working and the time that you're not working, to avoid kind of the little graphic that I have down here in the bottom right corner, to save you from going a little bit insane when you're working at home. Obviously, this is kind of difficult with today's day and age of staying on track to that. But if you can be kind of strict with what set hours you're expecting people to work between, so whether that be like 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. with them being able to work 8 hours in that time slot, it's a good way to make sure that everyone's in those chat rooms at the same time so they stay productive, but then helps avoid scope creep, and then also keeps them feeling connected with the team. Managing your meals. I've found that now that I'm home all the time, I feel like I am a chef and can cook all these extravagant meals that I've been thinking about for a long time and don't have the time to do when you're at the office. So I really try to maintain that lunch, especially. I'm not trying to cook a big meal and wasting an hour of my day just cooking that, because then I'm working till 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m., which kind of just really shoots the day out from under you. So making sure they're not spending too much time cooking while you're out and about doing that. Get exercise and stretch. I know my back and neck have been killing me since I've been sitting at my desk all day. So making sure you're getting up midday and definitely after work to at least get some kind of exercise, whether it be in the backyard and in-home workout. Tons of fitness influencers are providing ways for you to keep active and stay healthy. So make sure you stay on top of that as well. Establish boundaries with any colleague or any family members or roommates you might have. Making sure that working hours, you're not being disrupted, and that there's a clear line of when people can and cannot be bugging you. Because just as the graphic kind of displays here in the bottom corner, 5 p.m. my workday is done, time to go home, spin around in my chair, and I'm doing fun games and stuff. So sometimes it's really hard to tell whether I'm just fooling around on the internet or actually working from a roommate's perspective. So making sure that those hours are set to avoid any disruptions when you're trying to get actual work done. And lastly, to stay organized, set goals with subtasks for the day and for the week, making sure that you are still hitting targets and moving along projects as you initially planned. It's important to stay organized, especially when there's so many distractions around you, having a messy desk or roommates knocking on the door or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that even though you're home, you're still hitting tasks that you normally be hitting if you're at the office.
Also, just to add on to that, goals and tub task is something that Drew and I noticed over the past couple of weeks is really helpful just in this time where we don't know when coronavirus is going to be over and we're going to be moving out. So just having goals that you can work towards and kind of a flag in the sand that you can keep doing these subtasks to get towards keeps you motivated to do your work and just keep moving forward.
Lastly, there's some financial considerations in terms of working from home versus working at the office. So the pros of this is obviously the travel costs. Not many people are spending money on gas these days, getting back and forth to work. So that's a big bonus. Eating out, I've definitely reduced the amount of eating out I've done by trifold. A lot of a lot of cooking at home versus eating out has happened. So that's a big money saver. And then also relocating, which this is actually a really big one in terms of hiring new talent. So now that it's everything's kind of become a virtual office, when you're hiring new talent, you don't really necessarily need to think about local, or if you're hiring someone far away that they're going to have to move locations. Because it's all virtual now, you can seek the best talent wherever they're currently located and have them work right from there. So less barriers to having talent need to move, like let's say across the province, across the country, whatever the case may be, to work for you. They can work wherever they're comfortable and wherever they're happy doing so. Some cons with working from home is there are a lot of additional software costs that might come through. As Evan and I mentioned, everything we were talking about, we've tried to utilize either the free software or the freemium version of paid software, and it works up until a certain point, obviously, for businesses that are scaling. And it's just something to keep in mind. Also, shipping products back and forth, whether that be like for us, we're shipping VR headsets to our employees to have them try stuff out versus them just having access to that in the office. So need to be mindful of the extra costs associated with shipping stuff around to both our employees and also customers. All right, and that's essentially everything we wanted to cover today. Just to kind of wrap it up, want to make sure that people understand that organization is really key when you're working from home, making sure that yourself's organized, your team's organized, and how you're handling your clients is all organized. Software really helps with this, being able to kind of stay on track of all these different things. And highly recommend using ClickUp as our main project management software. I'm a big advocate for that now since we switched over. It's definitely helped both myself and our teams stay organized. Consistent team communication, find a good software for talking with everyone on a regular basis, whether it be during work or after work, just to be able to keep that communication consistent between everyone. And then lastly, the work-life balance. Stay healthy. It's tough being inside all day long and working from your bedroom, but if you can, find every way you can to eat healthy and stay active.
So yeah, I know
now we're ready for any questions.
Yeah, obviously we went over a lot of different software and hardware and tips and tricks there. You guys might have seen a lot of them already, but I think it was a lot of information for anybody. So open to any questions you guys have, especially even if you don't have them right now, just email us or reach out to us on any social media. We can help answer too.
Okay, wow, that's great. Okay, so I am going to unmute people, and let me just get that going here. So I'm going to unmute people. If you want to ask your questions, now would be a great time for you to do that. So everybody's been unmuted. Oh. Okay, so everybody's microphone has been unmuted. If you don't want your microphone unmuted, you can just remute it on the bottom.
Okay, perfect. I just called him and he's like, so I was like, so Ace is a no-go. And he's like, his food aggression. He's like, oh, okay. I said, but Callie.
I don't think that's first.
Yeah.
I was like, the one that we really like.
Okay, we remuted. So does anybody have any questions? You can also use the chat box, which is at the bottom of your screen. And you can type it to everybody. I'm sure that Drew and Evan are more than happy to answer any questions you may currently have. Well, I know that for us at Spark, since we've been working remotely for a month now, We have daily meetings with Zoom, so that's been keeping us very tight together. But we're using Asana. Are you guys familiar with Asana? Oh, shoot.
You have to unmute Ev.
Yeah, I'm looking for their names. Gentlemen, can you unmute yourselves? Because now I got to look for you.
Evan, unmute
There we
yourself.
go.
There
Yep,
you go.
yep. Yeah, I just noticed that. I found it. Yeah. Asana is very similar to ClickUp. I think there was just a couple integrations that we were looking for. Maybe it was GitHub or something like that, that worked with ClickUp but didn't work with Asana. It also might have been how their freemium model works. We were looking for the best bang for no buck. So that's why we went with ClickUp. But Asana is very similar in that way. Same with, I think it's called Mondays or something like that. Similar software.
Yeah, it really comes down to what's going to work best all together. And I think Evan slightly mentioned that at the beginning. A lot of things are built to work directly with Microsoft. A lot of stuff is built directly to work with Google. So we've when we chose ClickUp, I was very happy to see that it integrated with our Google Calendar, our Google Drive, Clockify for time tracking, and GitHub for the repositories. So those were four major tools that we were already using that we can now integrate into a project management software and use it all together. So.
Okay, cool. Does anybody else have any questions or thoughts? What's it been like for you guys now working from home?
Us or?
No, not you.
Yeah.
You guys are old hands at this. I'm looking at the other 21 participants that are in this meeting right now, asking them, what's it been like? What's the biggest adjustments for you guys? What's it been like working from home? I have a question here from Dan Bordenave. Do you recommend working on a set schedule or kind of working all day in increments?
Yeah, okay. So I think it's in terms of team productivity with what we've kind of set up in terms of needing to work together and being in the same chat rooms to communicate, we're a lot more effective if we can set up a schedule to make sure that we're working at the same times. Because when people are popping in and out on increments, and I know Evan and I have had to do this to our employees, you kind of slow the day down in terms of production because you're waiting for people to hop back on. You don't necessarily know when that's going to happen. So we found a good kind of system of making sure that we're working when our team's working and everyone knows when those time slots are. It also can kind of keep you work instead of just thinking about work 24/7.
Okay, great.
What do you think about that, Evan? Anything to add?
No, yeah, completely. That's exactly what I was saying.
Okay, we have another question. This is from Martha. What is the longest length of time a Zoom meeting can handle?
It's a good question. I believe that I'm not familiar
Basic
with
plan
all
has a 40-minute limit, and then you can pay for longer meetings.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we found with Google Hangouts, which literally as we're creating calendar invites to people, we can just click a button and it adds the Google Hangouts. And those are, Google announced that they released their professional version of that for free for everyone who's using it right now due to COVID. So up to 250 members can join a session for as long as you want right now. So.
But that's limited. That's for a limited.
Yeah, 250 participants, yeah.
And until COVID's over, whenever they decide to change that.
Yeah.
But I think it was still unlimited length. It was just fewer participants on the free version.
Okay. Now Martha has a part 2 to her question. How would you recommend converting a normal face-to-face 2-hour group to Zoom?
I think just setting up the calendar invite first, and probably an Eventbrite if you have a lot of people and you just want to send it out for people to sign up. Setting up an Eventbrite so that people can sign up for it, and then just set up with Google Calendars so that they all have a calendar invite, and so that the link's right in there. So they just, when it's time, they open their calendar, click on it, and they're right into the meeting. That's how we found it, either through Zoom or through Google Hangouts. Both of them integrate with Google Calendar really nicely, and it's super easy to get people in, even if they don't know how to use computers or Zoom that well.
When it comes, Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say another big thing is just make sure you do test it at some point prior, because Murphy's Law states what can go wrong will go wrong, and want to make sure that everything's up and running. We did our test run for this yesterday with Nicole, so thanks for that, making sure that audio and video is working well. We're hosting our own webinar talking about VR research in a few weeks, and we're gonna run probably 2 different tests to make sure that everything's up and running, because we're gonna try and run a live demo during it, which I can only assume is gonna go terribly. So.
And the other thing with Zoom is in order to get that 2-hour group, that 2-hour meeting, you will have to do a subscription. It's $20, not a big deal. It's, $20 for one person. So it's $20 per person. But if you're the host, it's $20 because you as the host can bring in your whole team and have that 2-hour meeting. Absolutely no problem at all. So just that. Now we have a question from Carolyn. She's an artist and she needs to learn, or is asking, what app to use to do an art party.
Art party. That's interesting.
So I found I don't know of a specific one that might work with, I guess like integrating art with like a FaceTime app. But another thing that I guess we forgot to mention with like that house party app and Poker Faces, those are ones that are built with the FaceTime built in. Another way you can do it is just have your phone set up with FaceTime right beside your laptop screen in whatever kind of art scenario you can find that people can connect and play together. So for example, like if you could find a game lobby where people can play Scrabble together, and you can like just sign in and do that virtually, then you can do the face-to-face portion of it through your phone on a FaceTime app. In terms of like specific art apps that we found, I don't know of any that aren't in VR, to be honest. But if we do, yeah, I guess we can let you know.
Yeah, I think either it depends, I guess, if you're painting or doing it on the computer. But yeah, I think setting up a Zoom call and then using whatever software or just painting you're already used to is a great way to do that. And then you can just show your painting in Zoom afterwards. But yeah, there might also be something like Poker Face where instead of playing poker, you're able to draw on the laptop and see each other at the same time.
Okay, so I'm going to unmute Nancy, who has a question.
Sure.
Hi, I'm just going to offer this. You can take it as you wish, but
sure.
My husband is part of a group.
Oh, Nancy, we just lost you.
Oh, you cut out.
Got remuted.
No, she literally, I think she's
Here, I'm going to mute myself now. How's that?
Oh,
There we go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah,
okay,
my husband is part of an art group, and they're based in Toronto, but they're all over Niagara as well. And they have meetings in the afternoons and on Saturday evenings that go for hours, and they use Zoom. It works
awesome.
for them.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, so they can perform, they can share a meal together, they do all of that. And they're happy with it. So it also works for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah,
And I'll lower my
thanks.
hand now.
Okay, so now we have a comment from Dan Bordnave. Or a question, what if you're not familiar with any computer software? Is there a forum or local programs that can teach you, especially for some of our seniors who may not be familiar with this technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have the links to send them right now, but I can find them and I'll send them to Nicole afterwards, and maybe she can send them out to everybody that was on this. But I know there's been a lot of like Zoom and Google Hangouts specifically. I think they've been running their own education and just tutorials. But I believe there's been some community partners also running those, and just companies running those that are trying to either run events themselves and get more people into them, or just try and educate people. So I'll send those links to Nicole and she'll send them out.
It sounds good. And Nancy, I see your hand is up. Would you like to chime in?
I don't know how you knew that I wanted to chime in. So I work with an organization called cyberseniors.org, and we have gone virtual, and we have a huge network of student mentors, senior mentors that work one-on-one with seniors. So I'm just going to give you the 800 number right now, if you want to write it down, and you can call that number and you will be registered and set up to work with a mentor online. So they can teach you, the first lesson everybody is learning is how to use one of these communication apps. Because
Perfect.
it is the most essential thing right now. So the 800 number is 1-844-217-3057. And the website is cyberseniors.org, cyberseniors.org. And you could meet a lovely teen mentor from Texas. Texas is good. There's a lot of them down there, or Minnesota, or right here in Niagara. And they're always ready to help, and it's completely free for everyone to take part in. So I have flyers to send out. If anyone would like one, you can, I don't know, let me know somehow. I'm going to send them out to the Spark team, and then if you'd like one, just let me know and I'll send you flyers that you can circulate if you work with seniors or if you know any young people who would be interested in getting some volunteer hours by mentoring this way. And thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, so we now have a question from Julie Stewart. She says, you mentioned fun activities for you and your team virtually. Any recommendations for Friday afternoon?
Yeah, one app that we've found fun. You can play it with a laptop, or if someone has a VR headset, it's even better. But works as a great team building exercise. We've actually delivered it with professional team building coaches, and the game's called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. Essentially, one person is responsible for defusing a bomb that is on their laptop screen, and they gotta either cut the right wire or press the button at the right time. And they don't know how to do that, but their team, who would be on a virtual call with them, has the manual in front of them, and they need to communicate to that person how to properly defuse the bomb, and without messing up 3 times, and within the time limit of 5 minutes to complete the defusal. It's a great exercise, lasts about 5 minutes per round, but can go for about an hour or 2 of fun with a team of 6, no problem.
Yeah, the bombs keep getting more complicated each time if you want them to. So it's something we've played a lot and still get challenged. So
yeah, I think the game is around. I think it's around $30 on Steam to buy for a laptop to play it on. I think you can buy it for PlayStation as well. But in terms of being able to communicate with your team, you would essentially have a Zoom call open like this, so you can talk to your team and to everyone on your team, including the person who's defusing the bomb. And then your screener in the background would be the bomb if you're defusing it, or the manual, the team supporting it. So trying to think of any other good ones. Evan, you got any ideas there?
That one's pretty good. Other than that, it's just like kind of like we were mentioning, different video games. If you guys, if your employees are into games, I've seen a lot of companies just doing weekly Minecraft meetups and things like that. But then if you're not into that, again, like the game like Poker Face being really cool to see, or House Parties, kind of more a really easy app to use, and they have like a couple games kind of like Cards Against Humanity or something along that line. So kind of fun games to play even if you're not that into technology.
Okay. So this Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, is that an actual app or is that a video game?
Yeah, it's like a video game, I guess. But basically you would just see the bomb in front of you, and just using your mouse, you have to click on the bomb to like cut different wires. And whoever's not using the bomb would go to the Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes website, and they have the manual on how to defuse it there.
Here,
So,
I'm gonna post the link in the chat so you guys can all.
Fantastic. Perfect. Okay. Now we have one more question, and this is from Carolyn. She says, I'm a caricaturist and painter and would like to draw caricatures or teach art. Would Zoom, FaceTime, or Facebook Live or something better? So I guess of all those, you know, what would be better or what would be useful?
Yeah, I think I'm going back to kind of how Nancy was explaining her art, her husband's art classes and stuff. I think Zoom would be a very effective way. Major things to keep in mind is just having a high quality webcam so that you can, and that's more on the teacher side, so the student can see very clearly what they're trying to do. But then, yeah, it provides that face-to-face kind of, and then if you set up your easel properly, right, you can move back and have a lot more in the shot, which can help in terms of getting that up on the screen too.
Okay.
Yeah, and with that, and I guess going back to the hardware for everybody a little bit, if you don't have the greatest Wi-Fi, look into getting an Ethernet cable. I have like 100-foot one that runs from our kitchen all the way down to my room, and it was only like $7 on Amazon, so like really cheap, but then gives you good quality internet, so you're not cutting out or anything like that.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're not that expensive either. Ethernet cords are
You froze, Evan or Drew.
I froze? No.
Okay.
Am I still here?
No, I think you guys are good now.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so that's it for questions. We have, you know, some people saying thank you. They found it interesting. And
Great.
awesome.
We
Yeah.
are down to our last few minutes. This is your last chance if anybody's got any questions. If not, then we'll be able to just end the recording. So last call, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, and if you think of anything after this, just again, email us or reach out to us on LinkedIn or any other social media, I guess, but LinkedIn's probably the best one to go to.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Thanks, Dan.
So
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Currently right now with the pandemic that's going on, we're not having any in-person events, but we are hosting a webinar on May 6th that is covering how VR can influence research and current education methods. So if you're interested in attending or have any professors or teachers that you think might be interested in attending, we can definitely provide that information. We'll send the link over to Nicole so that has the connection for anyone who wants to sign up.
absolutely, for sure. And later I'll be sending you a copy of this recording so that you can listen to it again and go through maybe some of the things that went by maybe a little too fast for you. So this actually ends the webinar. So thank you, gentlemen, so much for doing this for us today. It was incredibly informative, super interesting, and we're so thankful that you were willing to do this. Spark is doing these every week, every Thursday at 1 o'clock. There's a different webinar topic with a different local expert, if you will. Next week, we will be talking about content writing, which is super important. And so we'll be joined by Carmen Mastio Piero, I think is his name. He is a local entrepreneur and very successful in that area. So we're so looking forward to having him join us. So make sure that you sign up through our Facebook. And tomorrow we have what's called Fika Friday. And again, if you are interested in joining, then that's just a networking thing. You can do so through our Facebook. And that does have a more limited space. So if you want to do that, you'll want to try and register for that now, like today, kind of a thing. So that's all I have. So any final words, gentlemen, before we say goodbye to everybody?
Just thank you for
thanks
having
everyone
us.
for listening. Yeah. If you have any more questions, obviously, about what we do, reach out. The person who is interested in Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, if you have any hiccups getting that set up, just email us and we can walk you through the process. No problem. We've done it 100 times. And yeah, look forward to seeing anyone who's interested at the webinar again.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And
Thanks a lot, Nicole.
No, that's okay. Thank you. And we hopefully will see you guys next week.
For sure.